right, welcome back to Occult Archives. There's just something about those ancient books, right? The ones that seem to promise forbidden knowledge, those hidden truths. I don't know about you, but there's something alluring and a little bit dangerous about them at the same time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I get that. There's a certain kind of magic to them, a mystery that draws you in.
Exactly. And today we're diving into one that's particularly enigmatic. Volume 3 of Thrice Greatest Hermes. Even the title sounds like it holds secrets of the ages.
Thrice Greatest Hermes. Yeah, it's not your average airport bookstore find. This is a deep dive into excerpts and fragments from the Hellenistic Gnostic tradition.
And we're talking about some pretty profound stuff here. Ideas about God, the nature of the universe, the human soul. We can try to unpack all of that without getting too lost in the weeds. Make these ancient ideas accessible.
Right, no need to make it feel like you're deciphering hieroglyphics. And speaking of deciphering, the source material itself is fascinating. What we have here is a collection of fragments, pieces of a larger puzzle.
Puzzle pieces. So these weren't originally written as standalone bits of wisdom.
No, it seems a lot of this material was originally part of larger works. Sermons, maybe even entire books, but they haven't survived the test of time.
So we're dealing with a sort of best of compilation.
Well, that's part of it. Many of these fragments were collected by figures like Stobaeus. He was kind of like an ancient anthologist, gathering these bits of wisdom from various sources.
Okay, so he's like our ancient editor.
Exactly. And later on, scholars like Patrizzi came along, and they tried to organize these fragments, even gave some of them titles.
Trying to make sense of this ancient wisdom.
Right, but even those pieces, the ones with titles, they might themselves be summaries of even older teachings.
Layers upon layers of interpretation and preservation. It's amazing that we have anything left at all.
It really is. It speaks to the enduring power of these ideas.
Okay, so our listener is basically joining us on an archaeological dig into these Hermetic ideas, these core themes.
Yeah.
Like God, the universe, the soul, fate. So much to explore here. Are we ready?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay, so right off the bat, one of the most striking things about Thrice Greatest Hermes is its concept of God. It's not your typical Sunday school God.
No, not at all. The Hermetics emphasize God's ineffability, meaning that God is ultimately beyond our human capacity to understand or describe.
Beyond words, beyond comprehension.
Exactly. They're saying that human language, our concepts, they just don't do justice to the vastness and mystery of the divine.
So if we can't even describe God, how are we supposed to relate to God?
The Hermetics propose that true piety lies in understanding the nature of existence itself. It's about recognizing the order and interconnectedness of all things and offering gratitude to the demiurge, the creative force behind the cosmos.
So it's more about appreciating the creation than trying to define the creator.
Precisely. One of the excerpts actually says, "There can be no piety more righteous than to know the things that are, and to give thanks for these to him who made them."
That's beautiful. So in a sense, seeking knowledge, understanding the world around us, that's a form of worship in itself.
Absolutely. I think that's a key takeaway here. Your curiosity, your desire to learn, it aligns perfectly with this Hermetic idea of piety.
I love that. Knowledge as a path to the divine. Now let's talk about another big theme, truth. And this is where things get really interesting because the Hermetics have a very specific understanding of what truth is.
Yes, and it might surprise you. They draw a clear distinction between the true, with a capital T, which represents the unchanging eternal nature of God.
Okay, God is the ultimate truth, the unchanging reality.
And the constantly shifting temporary nature of the material world. And even our own identities, our sense of self, they see that as part of this constantly changing realm.
So everything we experience in the physical world, our thoughts, emotions, even our bodies, these aren't the ultimate truth.
Right, they're more like appearances, energies dependent on the true. It's like they're saying that everything we see and experience is a kind of reflection of a deeper, more fundamental reality.
So truth is something that lies beyond the surface of things, beyond our immediate perception.
That's a great way to put it. Think of it like this. God is the source, the unwavering foundation, and everything else is like the ever-changing currents flowing from it. Because the physical world is in constant motion, always transforming, it can't possess the same ultimate, unchanging truth as God.
That makes me think about how we use the word true in our everyday lives. We say things like, this is a true story, or that's the true meaning of this. But from the Hermetic perspective, are we just talking about temporary states?
I think that's a really important question. It challenges us to consider what we actually mean when we talk about truth. Are we talking about something absolute and unchanging? Or are we just describing something that's true in this particular moment, in this particular context?
It makes you wonder what is truly real and lasting in a world where everything is constantly changing. Okay, so we've got God, we've got truth. Let's move on to the cosmos now, because the excerpts paint a very specific picture of how the universe is structured.
Yes, they present a hierarchical view. At the top, you have God, the ultimate source. Then comes the cosmos, the ordered universe. And finally, humanity, occupying a specific place within this grand scheme.
Okay, so a hierarchy with God at the top, the universe in the middle, and humans somewhere down the line.
Exactly. And this is where the concept of the world soul comes in. This world soul is intimately connected to the harmony of the
These
stars.
stars. So astrology plays a role here.
Well, it's not astrology as we might think of it today. The Hermetics talk about the stars and the decans, which are specific groups of stars, as influences within this cosmic order.
Not like they're controlling our destinies or anything.
No, not necessarily. They're more like underworkers, contributing to the overall balance and unfolding of events. It's like each celestial body has a role to play in the grand cosmic drama.
I like that, underworkers. It's like they're part of a team working behind the scenes to keep the universe running smoothly.
Right, and it's interesting to note the distinction they make between different types of bodies. We have our perishable earthly bodies, which are subject to decay and death, but then there are also celestial bodies, which are seen as potentially everlasting.
So different levels of existence, some more permanent than others. It's all very interconnected, isn't it? Speaking of interconnectedness, let's talk about matter and time, because these concepts are really intertwined in Hermetic thought.
Absolutely. Matter, they say, is what we can perceive through our senses. It's tangible, it's changeable, it's ultimately subject to dissolution.
Okay, so matter is the stuff of the physical world, what we can see, touch, smell, and so on.
Exactly. And because it's part of the physical realm, it's also subject to the flow of time. Time itself is a fascinating concept in these excerpts. They describe it as being both continuous and discontinuous.
How can something be both continuous and discontinuous?
Think about it this way. Time flows continuously, one moment blending seamlessly into the next. But at the same time, each moment is also distinct. The past is gone, the future hasn't arrived, and even the present moment is constantly slipping away, becoming the past.
So time is always moving, never standing still.
Precisely. One excerpt says time stands not steady without a central point at which to stop. Yet it's also this interconnected flow linking past, present, and future together.
It's almost like trying to grab hold of water. It's always there, but it's also constantly escaping your grasp.
That's a great analogy. It's this ever-shifting reality that we're all immersed in. Now, within this constantly changing world of matter and time, there's another element that the Hermetics explore: the human soul.
Okay, so how does the soul fit into all of this?
They present the soul as an incorporeal essence, meaning it's not made of physical stuff. It's the part of us that thinks, feels, and experiences.
So it's distinct from our physical bodies.
Right. They say it has the power of self-motion, meaning it's not just passively reacting to external forces. It also has both rational and irrational aspects, which leads to that inner conflict we all experience, the struggle between reason and desire.
Ah, that familiar battle. So we're not just physical beings, we're also these souls with the capacity for both thought and feeling.
Oh, yes. And the excerpts talk about the soul's journey. They say that to reach its true home, it needs to leave behind thy body and overcome earthly distractions.
Sounds like a process of purification, a shedding of the material to reach something higher.
That's a good way to look at it. It suggests a transcendence of the physical realm. And it's interesting how they distinguish between the mind and the reasoning faculty. They say the mind resides in God, while reasoning is specifically human.
So we have this divine spark within us, this capacity for reason that connects us to the divine.
Exactly. And when we think clearly, when our soul engages its reasoning faculty, it aligns itself with the harmony of the cosmos.
I like that, aligning ourselves with cosmic harmony through reason. It's like tuning into a higher frequency.
Yes, and that brings us to the spirit, which they describe as the part of us that discerns appearances, what we perceive through our senses.
So the spirit is how we experience the world around us.
Right, but they say that understanding true knowledge can guide the spear upwards. It's like knowledge helps us see beyond the surface of things to understand the deeper reality.
So knowledge is not just about accumulating facts, it's about transforming our perception of the world.
Exactly. It's a key part of the soul's journey, this movement from the material to the spiritual, from the superficial to the true.
It makes me think of that famous quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." It's about engaging our minds, seeking understanding, to elevate ourselves.
I think that's a perfect connection. Now, while we're on this theme of understanding the cosmos, the excerpts also introduce these powerful forces: providence, necessity, and fate.
Okay, let's break those down. What are these forces all about?
Providence is described as the guiding and sustaining force of the entire world. Think of it as the overarching care and intention behind everything.
So providence is like the grand plan, the benevolent force that keeps everything going.
That's a good way to think about it. Then there's necessity, which is what holds it all together. It's the inherent laws and structures that maintain cosmic order.
Okay, so necessity is like the rules of the game, the laws of physics that govern the universe.
Precisely. And finally, there's fate, which is the driving force, the mechanism that pushes everything forward in a cyclical pattern of change.
So fate is what keeps things moving, the force that propels the cycles of birth, death, and rebirth.
Right, and it's described as the instrument of necessity. It carries out the inevitable processes that are woven into the fabric of existence.
It's almost like a cosmic dance, with providence setting the stage, necessity providing the rhythm, and fate leading the steps.
That's a beautiful image. And within this cosmic dance, they talk about how our physical bodies are connected to the realm of space, and how all change in nature is linked to the flow of time and movement.
So we're not separate from this dance, we're part of it, both physically and spiritually.
Absolutely. Now, there's also this interesting concept of rulers and their workmen who are involved in shaping the material world.
Rulers.
Yeah.
Like cosmic architects.
It's not entirely clear who or what these rulers are, but they seem to be responsible for the structure and order of the material realm. And they're said to have implanted a counterfeit of the spirit within us.
A counterfeit spirit. That sounds a little ominous.
It does, doesn't it? It suggests that maybe what we perceive as our true selves isn't entirely authentic, that there might be something deeper, something more essential that's been obscured.
Like we're living with a borrowed identity.
It's a thought-provoking concept, but then they introduce the idea of choice, of our own agency within this cosmic order. They say we possess essence, reason, thought, perception, and when we align ourselves with these higher faculties, we consort with fate, even though we're not inherently part of its nature.
So we're not just puppets on strings being manipulated by fate.
No, there's room for our own decisions, our own choices to play a role. It's like we have the capacity to navigate within the cosmic dance, to choose our steps.
And there's still this underlying divine plan, right? Everything ultimately fits into a grand design.
Exactly. They emphasize that everything is ordered and eternal in its essence, even though its outward forms are constantly changing. And they mention the cylinder as something that helps maintain this cosmic order.
What exactly is the cylinder?
It's not explicitly defined, but it seems to be a metaphor for the structured and harmonious movement of the cosmos. It's like the axis around which everything revolves.
Okay, so it's like the cosmic clockwork, keeping everything running on time. Now, let's talk about another concept that's often associated with ancient mystical traditions, metempsychosis, or the transmigration of souls.
Yes, the excerpts definitely touch on this idea of rebirth. They say that souls descend into physical bodies as a consequence of actions in previous existences.
So karma and reincarnation play a role here.
Definitely. They say there's a continuous cycle of rebirth and transformation based on one's conduct. The more righteous souls might ascend to become kings, philosophers, or prophets in their next lives.
So our actions in this life have an impact on our future incarnations.
Absolutely. And there's even a suggestion of potential connections with noble animal types like eagles, lions, or dragons during these cycles.
It's like our souls take on different forms, reflecting our character and our journey through these lifetimes.
That's a beautiful way to look at it. It suggests a deep connection between our inner nature and the forms we inhabit, both human and animal.
It's all about growth and evolution, isn't it? Striving to become more righteous, more aligned with the divine. And throughout all of this, the figure of Hermes himself remains central.
Absolutely. Hermes Trismegistus is presented as the primary revealer of this wisdom, the thrice greatest being whose teachings were recorded in numerous sacred books. They speak of a lineage of wisdom passed down from an ancient Hermes to figures like Tat, often identified with the Egyptian god Thoth, and Asclepius, the god of healing.
So it's a long and respected tradition, with Hermes as the central figure, the wise teacher guiding humanity towards enlightenment.
Precisely. And they hint at the enduring influence of this tradition, with mentions of later philosophers and spiritual teachers referencing these ideas.
It's amazing to think about the ripple effect of these teachings, how they've influenced so many different cultures and traditions over the centuries. So to bring it all together, what would you say are the key takeaways from these Hermetic excerpts?
I think the most important takeaway is the emphasis on knowledge, or gnosis, as the path to understanding God and transcending our earthly limitations.
It all goes back to that idea of piety through understanding, right?
Exactly. It's about seeking knowledge, not just for its own sake, but as a means of elevating ourselves, of becoming more like unto God.
It's a journey of self-discovery, of aligning ourselves with the cosmic harmony.
And it's a journey that requires effort, that requires us to engage our minds and our souls. It's not something that's just given to us. We have to actively pursue it.
So this deep dive into Thrice Greatest Hermes is really just the beginning. It's an invitation to explore these ideas further, to delve deeper into the mysteries of the cosmos and our own place within it.
Exactly. It's about asking questions, challenging our assumptions, and opening ourselves up to new ways of seeing the world.
So for our listeners who are ready to embark on this journey, what are one or two of the most compelling insights they can take away from our conversation today?
I think the distinction between the unchanging true and the constantly changing nature of our everyday reality is a powerful concept. It challenges us to look beyond the surface of things, to seek the deeper, more permanent truth that lies beneath.
It's like we're being asked to reevaluate what we consider real, to question our assumptions about the world.
Absolutely. And the idea of the soul's cyclical journey, with its potential for growth and transformation, offers a hopeful perspective. It suggests that we're not stuck in our current state, that we have the capacity to evolve and become more aligned with the divine.
So it's a message of hope, of possibility, of the inherent goodness within us that can be cultivated and brought forth through knowledge and understanding.
I think that's a beautiful way to sum it up. It's a reminder that we're all on a journey and that through our choices and our actions, we can shape our destiny.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired after this deep dive into Thrice Greatest Hermes.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these ancient teachings can still speak to us today, offering wisdom and guidance for navigating the complexities of life.
I agree. There's a timeless quality to these ideas that transcends cultures and eras. They speak to something deep within us, a yearning for understanding, for connection, for something greater than ourselves.
And for our listeners who are feeling that same yearning, who are ready to explore these ideas further, we encourage you to delve into the Hermetic texts for yourselves. There's a wealth of wisdom waiting to be uncovered.
And remember, this is just the beginning. The journey of discovery never truly ends.
So keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep exploring the hidden corners of knowledge. Until our next deep dive into the occult archives, may your journey be filled with wonder and illumination.
And may you find the truth that sets you free.
Thank you for joining us.